Translator. Redditor. Kurisu. Ling Han. Numerous flower blossom tier warriors bellowed in fury, their voices shaking the mountain winds. This youth was far too young. Though he bore the exalted title of heaven-grade alchemist, it was difficult for them to muster true reverence in their hearts. Ling Han merely curved his lips into a faint smile and acted as though the thunderous accusations had never reached his ears. The golem beside him wore an expression of utter gloom. Those rock pillars were truly difficult to swallow. As it gnawed upon them, it repeatedly turned its massive head toward Ling Han, its stone eyes filled with pleading, hoping for its master's merciful decree to cease devouring such tasteless fare. Very well. Since you insist on seeing Yue Hongchang, I shall grant your wish. Aofeng finally spoke. As the descendant of a spiritual infant-tier warrior, his words carried far greater weight than those of ordinary flower blossom tier cultivators. With a simple wave of his sleeve, someone immediately departed at speed. Ling Han's brows drew together. The anger in Aofeng's voice was not especially fierce, and deep within his gaze lurked a trace of lofty amusement. Could it be that he had already divined the relationship between Ling Han and Yue Hongchang? Such a possibility was far from remote. After all, a heaven-grade alchemist demanding to see a person he had never met without reason. Was that not worthy of deeper contemplation? Considering their ages, and the fact that the Winter Moon sect had recently recruited a batch of disciples from Rain Country, would it have been so difficult to gather information about Ling Han? Was Aofeng merely feigning agitation to test him? Ling Han let out a cold snort. His arrival today was by no means an impulsive act. He had come prepared, with a trump card in hand. Before long, 2 spiritual pedestal tier cultivators approached, escorting a woman under guard. She appeared to be about 40 years of age, her face bearing a trace of desolation, yet unable to conceal her natural beauty. Upon closer inspection, her features bore a subtle resemblance to Ling Han. Without doubt, this was Yue Hongchang. Ling Han did not need to inquire. A resonance of bloodline stirred within him, a connection of flesh and bone that left no room for doubt. This woman was his birth mother. Master Ling, now that the person has been brought before you, what words do you have? Aofeng asked coolly, as though all matters lay firmly within his grasp. Ling Han clasped his hands behind his back and said evenly, "Release her! Junior sister Hong Yuchang, does this youth not appear somewhat familiar to you?" Aofeng instead addressed Yue Hongchang. From the moment Yue Hongchang laid eyes upon Ling Han, her gaze had not wavered. Disbelief and agitation flickered across her features. Her body even trembled faintly. She paid no heed to Aofeng's words, staring at Ling Han as though fearing that, should she blink, he would vanish beyond sight. Master Ling, it is said you hail from Rain Country within the 9 nations of the desolate north, from a small town under the governance of large origin city. Your father's name is Ling. What was it again? Aofeng, though ignored, did not seem displeased, and turned to question Ling Han anew. Upon hearing these words, Yue Hongchang's emotions surged even more violently, yet she swiftly suppressed them, her expression turning cold and distant. I do not recognize this youth. Take me back. Junior sister Hongchang, so cold after beholding the son you have been separated from for 18 years? Aofeng's smile turned grim as he cast out this explosive revelation. At once, the people of the Winter Moon sect were stirred like waves struck by a tempest. So Ling Han's mother was indeed a disciple of the Winter Moon sect. Moreover, her status was far from ordinary. No wonder Ling Han had demanded to see someone without explanation. There had been reason all along. I have no idea what nonsense you speak of. Yue Hongchang's bearing was composed, her voice steady. Ling Han, however, smiled openly and said, Mother, there is no need to conceal it. Today I have come to take you home so that you and father may reunite. In an instant, the entire mountain erupted in clamor. Suspicions were one matter. Confirmation was another. A dignified heaven-grade alchemist truly shared such profound ties with the Winter Moon sect. Yet the relationship between the two sides was clearly far from harmonious. The moment Ling Han addressed her as mother, Yue Hongchang's composure shattered. She had resisted acknowledging him. Was it not because she feared the Winter Moon sect would seize upon her as leverage, using her life to threaten her son? Yet she had never imagined that he would publicly acknowledge her before all. 18 years without seeing her child, her emotions surged beyond restraint when she heard that single word. Tears streamed down her face. If not for the restraints upon her, she would have rushed forward, embracing Ling Han and gazing upon him to her heart's content. 18 years! An entire 18 years! Ha 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 ha! Ao Feng's laughter rang out, loud and filled with sinister qi. He had never imagined that the insignificant pest he had once spared out of fleeting mercy would rise to become a heaven-grade alchemist, a figure whose status rivaled that of sect masters. Now, to kill Ling Han was no simple matter, especially as Ling Han possessed the legacy of the 12 Palace, rumored to be linked to a god's treasure vault. Should the Winter Moon sect directly slay him and seize the treasure, the entire northern region's powers would unite and assail them under the banner of avenging a heaven-grade alchemist. However, if Ling Han remained within the Winter Moon sect, there would be no issue. So long as he declared himself willing to stay, who could interfere? And compelling him to remain willingly would be simple, so long as Yue Hongchang was present. Threaten him with Yue Hongchang's life, and Ling Han would not dare defy them. Yet no matter how Ao Feng reasoned, joy eluded him. This little pest was a blemish upon his life. The woman who was meant to be his wife had borne another man's son. Every glance at Ling Han felt like a blade twisting in humiliation. Alas, whether Ling Han lived or died was not his to decide. Such a matter rested in the hands of the Winter Moon sect's upper echelons, reflecting the will of the 9 old monsters at the spiritual infant tier. Master Ling, since you have acknowledged your blood ties, remain within the sect henceforth. Furthermore, I shall invite your father here as well, allowing your family to reunite. Ao Feng said with baleful intent. Would he truly be so magnanimous as to permit the son of a personal rival to stand before him daily, and even bring the man who had shamed him to roam before his eyes? One hostage sufficed. The other would be slain to poor encourager les autres one. Master Ling, since we have displayed such sincerity, should you not also demonstrate some sincerity in return? Ao Feng asked with a smiling face. It is said that within the 12 heaven mystery realm you obtained many treasures. Bring them forth and let us examine them. Ling Han smiled as well, though his gaze was ice cold. Are your ears defective? I said, today, I have come to take someone away. If Master Ling wishes to depart, then by all means, another flower blossom tier elite spoke. His name was Li Peiyuan, and the Li family too possessed a mighty spiritual infant tier ancestor. However, junior sister Hong Chang is a member of the Winter Moon sect. Naturally, she shall remain within the sect. Ling Han swept his gaze across the dozen flower blossom tier elites standing before him and said calmly, and if I choose to take her by force? Ha! Laughter erupted on all sides. Ao Feng continued. Master Ling, your alchemical attainments are indeed unparalleled, yet you are still but a spiritual pedestal tier warrior. Moreover, even if you possess medicinal pills capable of raising your combat strength by an entire major tier, this sect harbors more than mere flower blossom tier elites. In truth, Ling Han had already exhausted the Black Tower's power enhancement at the spiritual pedestal tier, and could no longer unleash flower blossom tier battle prowess. Yet naturally, he would not reveal such a detail. Killing is the conduct of uncivilized brutes, Ling Han said with disdain. Then, with a casual wave of his right hand, a corpse abruptly manifested before the main gate. In that instant, a terrifying aura swept forth. Translator, Reveter, Kurisu. All of them collapsed feebly upon the earth. The coercive majesty emanating from the god's remains was far too terrifying, and this was not the divine temple that could suppress divine aura. In but an instant, that overwhelming presence swept toward the summit, startling the spiritual infant tier elites into fleeing skyward one after another, not daring to draw near in the slightest. Whoever ascended would meet calamity. Ling Han revealed a faint smile and said, See? As I said, I do not enjoy killing. That is the lowest and most inferior method. If Lu Yutong were here and heard this, she would surely snicker, for Ling Han had often preferred to resolve matters with bloodshed. Even when he could have relied on his status to settle affairs, he insisted on speaking with his fists. Now, none could refute him. Beneath the crushing might of the god's coercion, Not a single person could even part their lips. Ling Han strode to Yue Hongchang's side, helped her to her feet, and said, "Mother, you have suffered greatly all these years." Yue Hongchang could not utter a word. She could only blink as tears streamed silently down her face. Ling Han supported his mother to the side and helped her sit down. He then spoke of certain matters concerning his father, appearing as though he truly intended to make casual conversation here. The members of the Winter Moon sect were left speechless. They were still sprawled on all fours upon the ground, yet aside from cold sweat pouring down their backs, there was nothing they could do. "Mother, I will first send you away." Ling Han guided Yue Hongchang behind a massive rock and instructed her not to resist his divine sense, then stored her into the Black Tower. The Winter Moon sect would never let this matter rest. There were still 9 spiritual infant tier elites present. Though they dared not approach for now, the moment Ling Han withdrew the god's remains, they would undoubtedly strike at once. Ling Han could retreat into the Black Tower at any time, but with an extra person, unforeseen mishaps were inevitable. And Yue Hongchang absolutely could not be allowed to suffer any harm. He turned and walked back, stopping before Ao Feng. Ao Feng could only tilt his head upward to gaze at the son of his sworn enemy. The psychological devastation within his heart was likely immeasurable. It was as though 10,000 grass mud horses were trampling wildly through his mind. "Pa!" Ling Han planted his foot upon Ao Feng's face and ground it down mercilessly, eliciting a muffled groan of agony. Ao Feng possessed neither a rock cliff body nor an iron sheet body, and without the protection of an origin power barrier, his physical defenses were merely slightly stronger than those of an ordinary man. "I ought to take your life, but as a son, I should not steal my father's task. Thus, your life shall be left for my father to personally claim." Ling Han lashed out with a savage kick, shattering Ao Feng's spirit base. Back then, this was precisely how Ao Feng had treated his father. Now Ling Han repaid the debt in full. From this day forth, Ao Feng's cultivation would remain forever stranded at the 3rd layer of the Flower Blossom tier, while Ling Dongxing's realm was to restore a spirit base? Impossible. What grade of spirit pill would be required to mend a spirit base as crippled by Ling Han's hand? At the very least, a heaven-grade pill. Where would the Ao family possibly obtain such a treasure? He might as well quietly await death. Ao Feng could not even scream. He could only groan weakly in anguish. He had been the genius of the Winter Moon sect, breaking into the Flower Blossom tier before reaching 50 years of age, with hopes of one day stepping into the spiritual infant tier. Yet now his spirit base was destroyed, severing his path of advancement entirely. Shock, fury, and terror surged through him, and he fainted on the spot. To frighten a Flower Blossom tier warrior into unconsciousness, Ling Han had likely forged an unprecedented record in history. Ling Han's lips curved slightly. His gaze swept past Feng Yan, and he strode forward in broad steps. "Though I have never paid you much mind, since I am here, I may as well settle things with you." Feng Yan's lips trembled as he struggled to speak. Ling Han simply seized him and carried him far away from the god's skeletal remains. "Ling Han, you bully others by relying on your connections. What kind of hero are you?" Feng Yan rebuked. Ling Han's expression showed astonishment. "Have my ears gone bad? You would actually utter something so inferior? When you were in Rain Country, did you not rely on having a spiritual infant tier master to attempt to kill me in public? Did you not brandish a spiritual infant tier law decree to assume unwarranted authority and act arrogantly without restraint? I rely solely on my own strength. How is that relying on connections? Feng Yan, you have truly fallen low." Those words flushed Feng Yan's face crimson. Back then, he had indeed been swollen with pride, not even placing the Rain Emperor in his eyes. In the end, it was precisely the Rain Emperor, whom he had disregarded, who unleashed astonishing power and repelled the expert dispatched by the Winter Moon sect. Had he corrected his attitude at that time, perhaps the Rain Emperor would not have intervened. Unfortunately, in this world, there were no ifs. "Ling Han, do you dare give me 3 years? Wait until I step into the Flower Blossom tier and battle me again." Feng Yan declared boldly, fearless in tone. He bore the bloodline of an ancient divine beast, and the speed of his cultivation was astonishing. Idiot. Ling Han shook his head. Before long, your brother will head to the middle state to make his mark. Why would I wait 3 years for you? By then, the grass upon your grave would already be tall. You truly intend to kill me? This is the Winter Moon sect, Feng Yan roared in fury. You overestimate yourself. So what if I kill you? I guarantee nothing will happen to me. Ling Han patted Feng Yan's face and said, Any last words? Seeing that we both hail from Rain Country, I will do my utmost to fulfill them for you. You cannot kill me. I am the disciple of a spiritual infant tier elite. Feng Yan suddenly shrieked at the top of his lungs. Master, save me! Save me! Go on, scream. Shout until your throat breaks. No one will come to save you. Ling Han said with a smile. Master Ling, could you grant this old man some face and spare this insignificant disciple? At that moment, a voice drifted from afar. An indistinct, white-browed elder stood suspended in midair. His frame was tall, clothed in white cotton robes, bearing the air of an immortal. He was Shi He Shun of the Winter Moon sect, a spiritual infant tier elite, and Feng Yan's master. Ling Han replied indifferently, Why should I give you face? Who the hell are you? A collective hiss rose. How could he dare speak thus to a spiritual infant tier elite? At first, everyone was stunned, but upon reflection, Ling Han indeed possessed such qualifications. Were this not the northern region, with its comparatively lower martial standards, but the middle state instead, a spiritual infant tier cultivator would only be servile before a heaven-grade alchemist. What face could a spiritual infant tier even claim? Yet this was still the northern region, where spiritual infant tier elites reigned supreme, invincible above all. Was it truly wise to openly offend such a mighty existence? Shi He Shun's face immediately twitched, his sage-like demeanor shattering in an instant. He pointed threateningly at Ling Han and said, Junior, if you dare touch even a single hair of this old man's disciple, this old man will flay you alive. Should I pretend to be frightened to cooperate with you? Ling Han sneered. Unfortunately, though you have lived many years, you are unworthy of my respect. Get lost. If you wish to save him, come. I will kill you as well, old dog. Shi He Shun roared furiously toward the heavens. Yet beneath the suppression of the god's skeletal remains, he did not dare approach in the slightest. Otherwise, he would have ended up like the others, crushed by that supreme presence, unable to move an inch. Ling Han smiled at Feng Yan and said, Look, even your master is helpless. You might as well accept your fate.